Testing one, testing one. Hey, hey, the search for truth. Good to see you here. Doing good. Yeah, I was still at it, or at least trying to still be at it. Here, I'm doing a volume check here on Rumble and YouTube real quick. Search for truth. Good to see you here. Doing good. Now, yeah, I was turn on this volume. Now, for those that don't know, the place card holder video that I place on Rumble before it basically starts playing before the live stream starts, and basically gives people a little bit more insight of what the former, let's just say 44 and 46th Biden administration has done. Now, these are going to be my opinions. So for those out there threatening lawsuits or whatever, these are my opinions. As far as I know, we still live in the United States of America. We still have First Amendment rights. The title of the live stream, Russia, 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 to cover up real Russian collusion, which I believe was, I say U-1, which references to uranium-1. Now, in the avatar photograph, to get this started right away, the avatar photograph that you see on Rumble, and you should see on YouTube as well, is the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov back in March of 2009 with Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, pushing that reset button. That reset button they needed, in my opinion, to put together the uranium-1 deal. Okay, so in my opinion, this is just straight out there and just telling y'all right up front what I believe happened based on all the evidence that anybody can actually research. Now, I researched that video of Obama that I have, that little video clip of when he was in actually Novo Igoriova meeting with the prime minister at the time, Vladimir Putin. Now, Novo Igoriova is called it's in Russia. It's in Russia Oblast, I believe they call it. It's called a dacha. Okay, I spell it now based on the name, Russian name. This might be kind of like the equivalent of an English name. It's called a dacha. Okay, now, at the time of this meeting in Novo Igoriova, that's spelled NOVO-OGARYOVO, Russia. That meeting, first they had the reset button. You got the Secretary of State in on the reset. They're all on the same team to basically collude with Russia, in my opinion, to put together the U-1 deal. Okay? Now, there's a lot of books been written about this. I keep on referencing, it's already out there in the public domain. I keep on referencing the book called Clinton Cash, and from Peter Schweitzer. He was the author. So if y'all want to, go check out all the facts about the U-1 deal and how it tied into the CGI. Okay, CGI, that's the foundation. I won't refer to directly, but these are allegations. Remember, just plain allegations. Remember, everyone's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Every American citizen should be afforded due process of law rights, which they basically took away from former President Trump when he was former President Trump. And even, you could even say President Trump, while he's the 45th president of the United States and while he's currently the 47th president of the United States. So this picture of Sergei Lavrov and Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Remember, this is a lot of people's opinions. It's not just mine. Hillary Clinton had a private email server in her home because she was helping to run a shadow government. Now, Barack Obama, as what we believe happened, Obama was aware of these things. He even had a pseudonym whenever a pseudonym email that he was corresponding with Hillary Clinton back and forth. Okay, so this is the main deal. Now, I've heard rumors about the remember the commander-in-chief interview that Clinton had in 2009 when she got off the stage. I forgot the guy. They fired him. They fired him because he went off script. He went off the plantation, in my opinion, right, and asked her hardball questions about her mishandling of classified information. And basically, so, well, how can you be trusted basically to be a commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces and the President of the United States if you inappropriately handle classified information? That's a fact. These are facts. Now, I don't know what the disconnect is with all these major young influencers, but I remember this like yesterday. And of course, I'm old enough to remember what happened in 2009. In 2009, I was older than most of these major influences are now. So we've already viewed all this stuff. I mean, it's great that people are coming late into these facts, but they're still not being spread. These are hard facts. Okay, I interject my opinions why they did it, and these opinions I haven't, and a few others, not too many, especially not too many in the mainstream media, not too many out there in these social media platforms. This information is literally absent. It's like a big void. It's like a big void. And to me, that smells of a cover-up. It reeks of a cover-up. So see, when Hillary Clinton got off that stage, I can't remember the guy's name. I wish I could remember it. Man, they went after that guy hot and heavy. Really hard. And just because he asked that honest question, if you mishandle very sensitive information, I'm not quoting him, the question. If you mishandle very sensitive information, how in the world, and running it on a private server, okay, which Barack Obama was aware of because there was interchange between his email and Clinton's. So he knew she was doing it. So now, this is a what if situation. What if? Hypothetical. You could just dismiss it. They could dismiss it all they want to. It wasn't RH that basically put together the Russian reset. It wasn't RH. I'm just putting out the facts. So when she left that stage, there was somebody that was there that heard her say, if he gets elected, we're all going to hang. Now, what the heck was she saying that for? Because they're worried about him finding out the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help him and us, God. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us, God. That's why I share this information. The source references are shared on Truth Social at Area 111. Go look it up. Is all public domain stuff. This is like low hanging fruit. I mean, you can't even help but that low hanging fruit smacking you upside the head unless you don't even want to go under that fruit tree to pick up the fruit. The sauce. They refuse to even go there because people like myself, because of our faith, we are despised. We're mocked. We're treated like second-hand citizens, like the subjects, like subjects. That's the God's honest truth. We hear voices. We're nuts, right? Because we believe in God, because they have no faith, or they haven't been blessed with the faith. That's basically what it all boils down to. And we don't support false witnessing against anybody. We don't. So remember, let me do a change up real quick with this avatar photograph. Let me change this up real quick. You're going to see Barack Obama's to the right. You can't see his whole face, but that's Vladimir Putin. That's at his castle, his estate, countryside estate. That's what dacha means. Barack Obama, and to be totally transparent, good to see you, Tracy. Appreciate y'all being here. Please share, if y'all can help me share this live stream so it gets the information gets out there. Now, I understand what they're doing. They're starting off from the very beginning of what happened, the coup, right? As our DNI basically reveals. That's a big reveal. The coup. For us, we've been calling this out for years. Years. We were calling it out in 2016. I mean, even in 2016, a lot of these people were minors that are in the media now. They don't even remember. They're in college or whatever, high school. You know, now they're in their late 20s, 30s, whatever. And, you know, they never maybe followed this stuff before as close as we did, but, you know, we were on it. I've been on this since 2008. And again, only reason why I started researching this stuff independently and putting information out is because church leaders approached me in 2008 to warn me about who Barack Obama really was. To warn me. Those were African American, you could call them black church leaders, however you want to define them. They were men of color. Very well known, very reputable men of color. Okay? If someone wants to play that skin color game, I don't play it. They're great men regardless of their color. Their character was unapproachable. Well, approachable to basically learn who they were. And to this day, I still don't know why they approached me to begin with. I didn't follow politics. I couldn't stand politics. It was boring, whatever. And I had a life to live. I had to basically help put food and whatever, take care of my mortgage and all that stuff, all my bills, be responsible the best I could, you know. So, anyways, this to me is the primary motive for the Russia stuff. Like, it's their MO. They've already established it. I even heard Akeem Jeffries just basically crying out loud while he's being questioned by a CNN guy of Republicans trying to gerrymander the districts in New York. That's kind of rich, isn't it? So I'm going to drop this again. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Again on this channel. What are they mad at? Well, for 40 years, they facilitated and directed an invasion into our country, which is treason, because they know that there was thousands and thousands of deaths due to that, facilitating and directing an invasion into our country, which also coincided with a foreign military and terrorist insurgency into our country. The bad thing, the worst thing about that, the most evilest thing you can imagine about that is they knew these deaths were because of them facilitating and directing it, the invasion, and the foreign military and terrorist insurgency into our country. They knew they were doing that. They knew they were doing that. To do what? Remember, I talked about this till I'm like blue in the face, and still no major media platform, social media platform, will even touch it. They won't even touch it. Why? Because it comes from a Christian man? Why? It might hurt their popularity. What is the reason for this? We are all in the same, should be on the same team. We all live in the same country. We all know or heard of all these deaths occurring, and they didn't do a damn thing about it. They continue to allow it to happen, which means they are accessories to mass murder. That's who these people have been, what they've done. And we can prove it through Acorn, which went to Acorn. CNN just put out an article. It's in the archives, whatever. That Acorn was basically creating thousands and thousands of fraudulent registrations. Okay? We already heard that. We already know that. We already saw the undercover video of how they were doing it. Acorn. So anybody can look that out there, look that up. It's out there in the public domain. What did they go to from Acorn? It went to Organizing for Action. That was put together. Now, these are my opinions again. Remember, Barack Obama, Eric Holder, or whoever, whatever name I disclose here tonight. These are my opinions. These were public officials, high-level public officials. Of course, Barack Obama was the president of the United States. Prior to that, he was a U.S. senator. And before that, he was a state senator of Illinois. Okay. Remember, Barack Obama was a community organizer in Chicago. Okay. So you can maybe connect the dots there with Acorn. If you maybe there's some dots there to connect. I don't know. I haven't gotten into that much of a detail. They put together Organizing for Action. You can look them all up. It's in the public domain. The founders of Organizing for Action that basically built a 30,000 foot soldiers on the streets, if they're called upon, on the streets of our country. Basically a 30,000 troop army to basically go out on the streets whenever they're called on. That was put together by Barack Obama and Eric Holder. Now, this is going to tie it in perfectly. This is going to, in my opinion, this is a perfect tie-in. The reason why they facilitated and directed an invasion, and they turned it back to all the people dying in our country. That is treason. Remember, the invasion, see, it's going to be in chronological order. They're going to go in step, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. The ODNI's releasing information about the Russia stuff. Maybe they'll get into the cover-up of the real Russian collusion. Maybe they won't. I don't know. And U-1 going through the foundation. CGI. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. So it went from ACORN to Organizing for Action to what? National Redistricting, Democratic National Redistricting Committee. Listen to that name very closely, because this is in the news right now. Because Hakeem Jeffries just went out there to spin that, the redistricting. They are caught. They're caught. They tried to do it in Texas to flip the vote. They tried to do it in New York, or they've done it in all these states to flip the vote. So they basically facilitated, and this is my opinion. Now remember, Democrat National Redistricting Committee. They set it all up, and now they're mad because they're caught. They should be mad. They should be terrified, because that links together with the invasion and foreign military and terrorist insurgency into our country. Because what were they going to do? They're going to put out a census report, right? And find out how many people are here of voting age, so they can go out there and gerrymander the Democratic districts, or conservative, or Republican districts. That's what they did it for. It's all for their own personal interests. These hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children have died because of their own personal interests. This can be proven. We already had boots on the ground. What do you call it? Special forces, retired or whatever, former special forces teams on the ground that had the surveillance, and we know what they did. They had even holding stations, right? They had maps. They had ways to get in, what to show Border Patrol if they are caught, so they can get in and basically go to all these districts, whatever. Now, what happened to all those children? Well, it appears to me, this just appears to me, it looks like they just used the children, and we got that evidence too. It appears to me they just used the children for these adult voting age individuals or military age individuals to get into our country, right? So they can be counted in the census, so they can gerrymander their districts. This is like more fruit just dangling down from the tree. That, like, when you walk under that fruit tree, it just smacks you in the face. The truth is so obvious, it's ridiculous that nobody's really putting it into these terms. Why? Why? Because both sides are doing it? Why? Because both sides are selecting, or instead of allowing these people to be elected, they're selecting who they want. That's what it looks like to me. Okay, so remember, that's the key to this. It's to take over total control of our government. Total control. A socialist, Marxist, communist, total control, where the government decides what businesses can stay open, who can have a job, who cannot. That's all based on a socialist, Marxist, communist foundation. They're nearly successful. They were nearly successful. They've basically taken over most of the judicial branch of government, where these people, you can see, they're blatantly refusing to base their opinions off the U.S. Constitution. Blatantly. And they're even putting in their own, kicking out the nominees that President Trump put in, or the DOJ put in to be judges. They're going after them all with their lawfare. They've even gone out there like Norm Eisen. This is not my opinion. Norm Eisen went out there it's out there in the public domain. He said he's pretty confident that they're going to eject President Trump from office. We're talking about this is recently, and bragging about all the lawsuits he's already put together. I think that was in March when he's out there boasting that they're going to eject President Trump from office. And he's going to stick around to basically stitch up the damage for those getting in trouble for that broader criminal conspiracy, the continuation of the coup that they initiated back in 2016. Because, in my opinion, they could not allow President Trump to get a hold of the real Russian collusion and the U-1 operation. Now, what is Uranium One? Okay, that's been out there. There's even books written about it. So, do you think they could afford President Trump to see that information? Do you think they could afford President Trump seeing Hillary Clinton's emails? See, that would have had to be like the highest level top secret information that the President of the United States was privileged of seeing. He's definitely privileged to see that information now. And it's no secret that people in these agencies have compartmentalized information so it never gets to the eyes of the president. So it never gets there. That's obvious. So the cover-up, which includes destroying information, destroying their devices, like the Mueller team did with the 18 angry Democrats. That's what we're told. They destroyed all their devices. These are public officials. Mueller was a former FBI director who retired, I guess, in 2013, and then Comey came in, right? I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. And you see all those questions. You hear all these questions. The same old stuff. Donald Trump was just attacking you, Tulsi Gabbard. Remember? Because he found you discreditable. What's her name? Caitlin Collins? Whatever her name is. I could care less. She's just a political hack pretending to be a journalist. In my opinion, being paid through the black budget of the agencies. agency or agencies plural. That's all she is. She's always got these little, she thinks she's got these gotcha questions, right? But they're already preloaded. That's her script. That's their scripts that they're running on. They're still running on the Russian collusion stuff. They're trying to go backpedal to basically try to re-legitimize the Russia stuff. Remember, you think about this. Think about if they did that to your son, Donald Trump Jr. Think about if they interrogated your son like 15 hours straight with their BS. Think about if that was your son. And basically, Eric Trump was the most subpoenaed man in the history of the United States with their lawfare BS. They falsely arrested Trump multiple times, knowing that they falsely arrested him because they wanted to silence him. Operation Silence, I believe they call it, right? That was an operation. Whether that was the official name or not, that was their goal, to permanently silence President Trump. And the Russia stuff, this is it right here, in my opinion. And the more that this information is revealed, the safer all of us become, because the information will be basically shown to enough eyes that they're going to have to throw out the white flag, and they're going to have to invent another lie, and to cover up that lie, to invent another lie. You know how lying goes, right? They're going to have to continue to lie and make up new lies, like the client list, right? We knew that all along. We knew exactly why they raided Mar-a-Lago. By the way, it was they were using the same old 2016 presidential finding that gave the justification for Barack Obama to order his intelligence agencies, plural, to conduct illegal surveillance on Donald Trump, Donald Trump's family, and Donald Trump associates, or anybody, any like MAGA influencer, to go after them, to go after anyone that basically had any information, which in most of those cases was just commonsensical information to tie all this stuff together. Now, let's just imagine this. Russia. They made it all up so they could take over the investigation, to go in and destroy all the evidence on themselves, whether it be emails, whether it's official documents, whether it's going into transcripts with Flynn and the Russian ambassador to the United States, Kislyak, going in and falsifying transcripts, right? And I do believe the only reason why they let Flynn go is because Sidney Powell was calling for the original audio of that conversation. Remember, they said, well, that's what General Flynn said. I tend to believe him. That sanctions was not discussed. Okay? The FBI even believed that he was not lying. And because of the lawfare and attacking his son too, trying to bankrupt him, bankrupt his whole family, rip his family apart. He basically said he was guilty of lying. And then they changed the plea, right? Once he got a new lawyer involved. And I really believe that Sidney Powell, when she demanded discovery to hear the actual original audio clips, that they dropped it. See, they could have gave them a redacted audio file, right? But who else had the actual audio file of the discussion, in my opinion, from Flynn and Kislyak? Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia, 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 that the 44 and 46 administration was conducting deconfliction zone communication checks with Russia on every hour as according to law. So there's a big article out there, the Smithsonian. The red phone isn't really a red phone, and it goes into the communication center. Basically, it was put together after the Cuban Missile Crisis to ensure that never happens again. A deconfliction line where they can immediately, DC can contact Moscow immediately and say, hey, you're operating here, you're operating there. We don't want, we want a deconfliction zone so we can help keep our men and women in uniform safe, or covert operatives safe, and we keep theirs safe as well, especially in joint operations. So, anyways, yes. So they have falsely accused Trump of pretty much everything they've done themselves to silence him. And some could say even to permanently silence him. They've done everything so far that they could to ensure that happened. Now, I believe that certain people were on psychotropics that, I do believe going back in history, John Hinckley Jr. was on psychotropics. I believe Crooks was possibly on psychotropics, and Ryan Ruth was on psychotropics. Now, go look up the term psychotropics for yourself. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. Okay, just go look up the term for yourself. And that goes back all the way to MK Ultra. Okay, covert tactics or whatever. Anyways, so you talk to these little millennials or whatever they're called now, and you tell them all this stuff, and they're so brainwashed that they're going to look at me like I'm a Martian or something, or I'm an extraterrestrial from Alpha Centauri or something, interstellar traveler from another dimension. You know what I mean? I mean, this stuff is just, a lot of it's just common sense. At least it is in my opinion. This is more credible than what they've falsely accused Trump of doing. Well, let's see. Man, I'm sorry. I didn't share the comments on stage. So anyways, I forgot to do that. Now there's only like one person here. You would think this would be one of the hottest live streams out there right now with this information. And some people go, oh, I already knew that, RH. Well, why haven't you talked about it on your mega channels, those out there just getting the information, basically getting information from this channel to basically help help your own channel, right? Hey, no problem. Go ahead. Go for it. It's yours. It's YouTube, right? Keep as far away from the RH as you can because, well, they got to twist everything that it came from them. This information is a result of years and years of research going all the way back to 2008. That's 17 years ago. 17 years ago. You know, going back to the Analysis Corporation, John Brennan be the CEO when they had the U.S. State Department hack or breach, where they basically, in my opinion, they purged damning information from Obama's official records. That's what I believe they did. John Brennan goes all the way back to them there. You know, oh, well, that's all statute of limitations already ran out, RH. You can't even talk about it. What? It's out there in the public domain. Look up the Analysis Corporation. I said company one time. Look up the Analysis Corporation. Look at the, it was before, like, it was, let's see. In 2007, the Analysis Corporation had about, I think it was $30 million in government contracts. 2008, they received only $19 million in government contracts. The Analysis Corporation that John Brennan was the CEO of, former CIA guy, right? John Brennan was made the CEO of. And in 2009, the first year Obama is in office, the Analysis Corporation received $150 million in government contracts. What does the Analysis Corporation actually do? Okay, this is out there in the public domain. They conduct surveillance or methods of surveillance of those that are put on the watch list, working for who? Like the FBI, the agency, right? Government entities conducting surveillance. What did they do on Trump? Conduct on Trump. How did they outsource that? The agency. How'd they outsource it? It's all there. This is what drives me bananas because, you know, I guess there's people out there that said, well, you're nuts anyways. Who would want to listen to you? You're not credible. Really? Based on the stuff that these people put out, I'm a lot more credible than they are. The Hunter Biden laptop has all the earmarks of a Russian, what do you call it? Disinformation campaign against Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton lost the election due to Hillary Clinton. If she'd have done half the rallies Trump did, she'd have probably won the election. She got the popular vote. And on far lesser campaign donations, campaign money that President Trump had, he still beat her. She has nobody. When Hillary Clinton accuses Russia so they can go in there, take over the investigation to destroy all the evidence on themselves, she can accuse Russia. She can accuse the basket full of homophobes, xenophobes, misogynists, whatever, racist, whatever the heck she said. I could care less. She could blame it on everybody else. The media wasn't being fair to her, whatever. During the commander-in-chief interview or rally, whatever you call it. Man, I need to bring that back up again. So let's go in real quick and change out the avatars. All this information is on Truth Social, by the way. Even the video of Barack Obama on July 7th. This just 3 days after our Independence Day of 2009, after Hillary Clinton and Sergei Lavrov's corny reset button, right? He's in Novogoriova with the Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin, at his palace in Dacha, in the country, Russia Oblast. You got nobody else to blame but yourself, Hillary. Nobody but yourself. I don't know. I don't know the truth of the, tranquilizers and what you may or may not have taken, whatever. But there's some pretty disturbing videos out there of her trying to get in the Scooby van and she couldn't even walk on her own 2 feet. That was a 9/11 ceremony, right? Why was she so tense? Why was she so? I don't know. Maybe those were flashbacks. I don't know. She's getting flashbacks of what happened in history. Who's the senator of New York at the time? Who was possibly going to run for Senate at that time? Are those all conspiracy theories too? Okay. So I got to talk like a robot now, right? To make myself, like it's funny. Uh, you know, Trump's jokes about being presidential, right? I got to be what? I'm a regular guy. I'm a normal guy. I use sarcasm sometimes. Uh I don't really use satire. I think satire's connected to the guy in the red leotards and the pitchfork and the horns, right? Oh, anyways. So if this starts in chronological order, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we only have 4 years, and they're already, even the media. This is crazy, right? Well, that was over. That's past the statute of limitations. Now all these media people out there, these political hacks pretending to be journalists, right? They're out there. They're basically trying to tell the press secretary and the DNI, oh, the statute. There's nothing you can do about this. So, let's move on.org. MoveOn.org. See, people, when I say MoveOn.org, they don't even know what I'm referring to. It's a campaign slogan of who? MoveOn.org. Okay, come on. That's old business. We're new. We're progressive. We're putting it. Remember, they went back to the ABCs in grammar school. We got it. We got it in D and drive. We're moving on. We're not going to talk about anything that has murdered hundreds of thousands of Americans. We're not going to talk about that no more. And they'll sit there and procrastinate, delay. Oh, that's past the statute of limitations. Oh, what about the thought process of going, well, they took those illegal drugs and they deserve everything they got. Really? There's been a lot of innocent men, women, and children that thought they were taking something, else, but that was mixed in. So all those hundreds of thousands of deaths mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. It's even talking about it's supposed to be political. Politicizing the deaths. I could give a rat's behind what party you belong to if you're even political at all or not, or whatever you are. Even if you're a Martian or from an extraterrestrial from Alpha Centauri, if you're involved in this stuff, you should be held accountable, at least as a co-conspirator to mass murder in our country. And what was the motive, in my opinion? Remember, these are my opinions. What? No, this did happen. These fentanyl deaths did happen. How many children went missing? They were just used as props, like stage props, to get into the districts they needed them. And then where did they go? They handed them off. They were blocking even DNA tests, right? Wait a minute. Because if you take the DNA, well, they're not related at all. Kind of hard to traffic that category. If you find out it was all a ruse to begin with. Again, these are my First Amendment right opinions. These are opinions. These are assessments in many cases from former professional career. That's all I'll go with that. So they even flew, from my understanding, thousands of these people coming across our border. They either flew them into military bases or bust them into military bases or use military bases as holding facilities. That was from January 20th of 2021 to January 20th of 2025 until President Trump got back in office. So all of that's conspiracy theories now too. Well, our rates are talking out of order. We got to go through this in step by step by step. No, they need multiple teams, because if they are accessories to mass murder, these are people complicit in being accessories to mass murder for their own personal financial or personal interest of gaining power or maintaining power in our government, and far as the finances that entails. I mean, that has just happened. That's why President Trump has done everything he could to shut it down and secure that border. He's doing exactly what his constitutional oath requires him to do, that mandates him to do, which includes the mandate that the people, 80 million people, approximately 80 million people or more, mandated him to do right when he got in office. Those that are fighting against it, to me, the hardest, those are the ones that are culpable, and they don't want this information to come out. Remember, there's trillions and trillions of dollars, not only in U.S. financial interest, but also foreign country financial interests as well, to ensure that President Trump is held up in every way imaginable with this ongoing coup. This is an ongoing coup. They're coming out full blast. They're even trying to associate him with, on the clients list and all this stuff right now as you go out there, because they want to block the information that the ODNI just put out. It's like 200 pages of classified information that Tulsi Gabbard declassified. Now, I don't know if all 200 pages were declassified, if some of them were already out there in the public domain or whatever, but she released 200 pages of that for people to go through. So they had to. This is what shows you that the Mockingbird media is still fully intact and still abiding by fraudulent, let's say presidential findings back in the 44th administration and 46th administration, right, to go after the current president, Donald John Trump. So they had to compartmentalize it. They reorganized the basically the Special Activities Center. It's a division within the CIA. The center of the CIA Political Action Group, they compartmentalized it. They reorganized it. They set it all up. Basically, they're getting prepared to purge, have their burn barrel parties, whatever. If Clinton didn't win, and if Trump won again. And if Biden did get reelected, or whoever, Kamala, they were already. See, they got a foothold in there from 2021 to 2024 to have their burn barrel. 2021 to 2025 to have their burn barrel parties. They set everything in place to basically take over, to basically overthrow the government of the United States and transition, fundamentally transform America into a socialist, Marxist, communist country. That's exactly what they did. They tried to make themselves the kings and queens. To select themselves. And again, the evidence, in my opinion, somebody could debunk it. Provide me the information that's factual where I have to go out there and make necessary corrections. Do it. Put it in the comment section, because it remains in the comment section after the live stream is over. Don't put it in the chat. You got any information proving anything that I'm saying here tonight is false? Please put it in the comment section so I can see it and make necessary corrections. Fair enough? Let's see how many people we got. We got 4 people on YouTube and only 2 on Rumble, because I'm viewing Rumble and YouTube at the same time. Well, not, yeah, I am. So, can you imagine this in the United States of America? Information coming out like this, and you have less than 10 people listening? Can you imagine that? After all the major media platforms I've listened to, can't always get what you want, RH. I know it. If this was a perfect world, in a perfect world, all this stuff would be out there, right? A perfect world. This is not a perfect world, RH. You can't get what you can't always get what you want. That was a song I believe was played at Trump rallies. You know, and that's far as when it comes from the president's perspective. Could you imagine all the information coming into his office? Could you imagine the intel briefings? Oh, by the way, the Mockingbird media is trying to cover this up too. I saw him during that press conference today in the White House. The press secretary. Oh my God. If I remember what I was about to say, because I was thinking about press secretary. They're going back to the same old propaganda. I can't remember exactly what it was. When I do, give me a few minutes here. What was I just about ready to say? Golly, this is horrible. Um, man, it was a very important point too, and it just I forgot the whole thing. I have to go back and look at the whole press briefing today. Um, well, one of those things is there isn't it kind of rich that they got Marco Rubio out there to try to give them cover because he was the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, right? He's the Gang of Eight. You know, him trying to get him to go out there and talk about that again, right? Like, I'm pretty sure even you go all the way back to 2016. Remember, Rubio was running against President Trump. Remember all the Republicans? You had Ben Carson was running. Yeah, I really like Ben Carson. I still like Ben Carson. I wish he could have gotten into a place where maybe he didn't want, maybe only wanted to be a president. But I think he'd be an outstanding vice president in what is that, 2028, whatever, if he wants to, or I mean, he needed to have executive type uh, experience. I don't know. I'm not trying to make. I don't know why they left him out, but no, he was in charge. He was put in charge of the HUD, right? Department of Housing or something, or urban development. Yeah, he was put in a position, so cabinet position. But anyways, that's not what I was going to talk about. But yeah, they're trying to. It's kind of rich that they're trying to use Rubio as a like a like a like an ally. Rubio's really smart, by the way. And of course, when he was running against Trump too, and had that joke about the hand and all that stuff, it brought in a little bit of entertainment. So Rubio got over that, and I'm pretty sure that President Trump and him had a lot of conversations, and he has a lot more insight into the dealings of what had happened in the past. As far as the State Department is concerned, all the way back to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, right? All the way back to 2009, the Russian reset and all that stuff, right? So, anyways, trying to remember the point I was going to make. If I remember, I will talk about it before I end the live stream. But I'll go back over that press conference today, and it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? What the main things that stand out to me is they're not upset with this because they helped them. The Mockingbird media helped them with these cover-ups. They helped them with all this stuff, the Stephanie Clifford and all that other stuff, right? But yeah, and now they're trying to use the client list, right, to distract everybody. Yeah, if you go out there and you look up the ODNI or Tulsi Gabbard uh, stuff, and you start look at how they flooded the zone with their BS about the client list again. I mean, they're all in on it now, and I tell you what, that's defamation. President can sue them, right? United States. I mean, he's the president of the United States. They're using propaganda. They're still using the psychological warfare propaganda operation against the president of the United States and us citizens. They're still doing it. Still to this day, they're doing it. No, what happened in December of 2024 that I'd like to bring up? December of 2024, it was two people that were trying to release the victim list of the $17 million congressional slush fund, right? $17 million congressional slush fund. And that's where the Dems got the idea, right? So what was that? It was pertaining to sexual harassment at work, right? On the job sexual harassment. Maybe even while they're off work, like getting a phone call, hey, I'm gonna put you in this position. All you got to do is do something for me, whatever. You know what I mean? You know how that goes on, how it's gone on in the past. But I do believe they twisted. I always knew after the Mar-a-Lago raid and how they set all that up, right, that they were going to try to tie Trump with Epstein. And see, that Epstein stuff has been out there forever, right? They never used it before. But since they've basically lost on everything else they've tried, to include the Russian collusion BS, right? They've lost on everything pretty much else. They just went with that. They're going with anything that they think will stick against the wall. And they don't even care if it's true or not. Alan Dershowitz, right? He was Epstein's lawyer. He came out and said that Trump wasn't on that list. He said, what list there is a list of the victims, right? So I don't know. People, I don't want you to get mad at RH because I haven't seen a so-called client list, but I know there's victims involved. I know that. And I want people that, especially as it involves 12-year-old girls, whatever, anyone underage that deals with anyone underage, yeah. And we all know that Jeffrey Epstein was a friend a long time ago with President Trump. He had a membership in Mar-a-Lago until he was kicked out. Now they're trying to say, oh, that wasn't because of him saying anything inappropriate at Mar-a-Lago. It's because of a real estate deal that went bad for Epstein. And Trump basically overbidded them, right, and got the deal, right, for the real estate deal. So they're trying to basically shift all this stuff away, right? But we got people that actually worked for Trump in Mar-a-Lago, as far as my understanding, knew or still knows about the inappropriate comments to, I believe it was to, let's just say girls of a certain age. I don't know. That's what what I heard out there in the mainstream media, or whatever. I mean, not the mainstream media, but out there in the far as on the www whatever. So, anyways, let's go. So they basically, their famous strategy is, well, they accuse you of doing something, then let's us accuse them of doing what we've done. That's called their wrap up smears. Remember, Pelosi went out there and explained it while she's hiccuping, whatever, about the wrap up smears, right? They're basically, it's defamation. Going out the art of defamation and libel slander. They got it down to the pack. I mean, you hear these so-called Democrats every day out there with their defamation and libel slander comments every day, pretty much, that they're in session, whatever, or they're out there speaking with their mobs, out there every day with their defamation. Racist, homophobe, xenophobe, they're going to take away your rights, your healthcare rights, and everything that they say. See, they don't even have an imagination of their own. They just use what they know they've done in the past and accuse others of doing the same thing. It's like when you're like little kids and you did something wrong, right? Well, mommy, he did it too. Mommy, he did it too. He's your favorite. Mommy, he did it too. He's your favorite. Are you going to punish him too? It's like little childish, stupid games that anybody with a lick of sense could see it's BS. Mommy, he did it too. You got Hakeem Jeffries out there talking about gerrymandering districts, right? And I went through the whole thing, right? The history of it. Acorn, Organizing for Action, and National Democratic Redistricting Committee, which is an organization. Let me look that up because I want to make sure I got it right. Make sure that the name of that is correct. Okay, y'all have to go in there and check out organizing or funding interstate riots. Criminal statute, U.S. Constitution. Go check that out. That's what they've done, right, during especially summer love. Oh, that's past the statute of limitations, RH. You can't talk about it anymore. Malicious prosecution, that's a crime, by the way. Misdemeanor at least. National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Okay, it's actually an organization. You have to know what they're doing. And I hope, I pray that President Trump knows what they're doing. And, but yeah, that's where they go out there and gerrymander. So When did they put this together? See, the timing has to be right to basically, they put this together all the way back in 2017, 8 years ago, right? So that probably they put it together after Trump won the election, right? And got in office. So that's when they put it together. Headquarters, Washington, D.C. Key people, Eric Holder, chairman. Okay. And this is basically a takeoff from Organizing for Action. Okay. So this is what they did. I'm pretty sure. And they were ready for 2020, wasn't they? Hindsight, perfect vision. So right here, at launch, the organization announced that it intends to support Democratic candidates for local and state offices in order for them to control congressional map drawing in the redistricting cycle following the 2020 United States Census. Okay? Following. So, what happened in what began to happen after Biden was started their third term on January 20th of 2021. They allowed the invasion, right? They allowed the invasion to occur. To prepare for what? To prepare for 2024. So, the whole time, from January 20th to 2021 to January 20th to 2025, they facilitated and directed an invasion into our country that has caused thousands of deaths. Now, where this becomes, in my opinion, military, and could go to military tribunals, is that they used military bases as holding centers until these people can be basically given transportation into these districts. Remember, we're not talking about a few thousand or something like that, right? We're talking about over, that we know of, approximately 20 million people. A lot of those children disappeared, which to me says that, okay, they were never with their parents to begin with. They brought them over as props to get into our country, and then they deserted them, even babies, right? This is some sick stuff. Former Attorney General Eric Holder, under Barack Obama, serves as the chairman of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Nano Bisognano serves as president, and Marina Jenkins serves as executive director. In 2016, President Barack Obama has said he would be involved with the organization as the main focus of his political activity after his presidency. Okay? Directly involved. Is that the reason why he purchased that estate in Washington, D.C., so he can run this, help run this? In my opinion, yes. Remember, he had Valerie Jarrett. I think Valerie Jarrett lived there at that estate, that mansion in Washington, D.C. I mean, I call it a mansion. It's a mansion compared to what I live in. But anyways, more power to them. According to NDRC Senior Advisor and former U.S. Representative Mark Schauer, the organization intends to attract support from party officials, labor unions, and the American Votes Coalition of progressive activists. The NDRC is the first group within the Democrat Party to formulate a centralized strategy for gaining total control of our government. Well, of course, it doesn't say that. Gaining control of the redistricting process to gerrymander it. In contrast, okay, the Republican Party launched Red Map to elect Republicans to perform redistricting during the 2010 cycle. They're all using that census because what? The census not only basically identifies the color of your skin, right? It identifies whether you're of voting age or not, right? And that census, whatever, is required to be filled out. That survey is required by law to be filled out. I even had threats that they're going to come to my door if I didn't turn it in. Strong army. Wow. Strong army to turn in the census report. Very detailed questions about your age. When will you become of voting age, right? Legal age to vote, right? When? What month? What day? So they brought in the military age people of age to vote from even foreign adversarial countries, so they can bring their family or find a family or make a family while they're here. So it's not the fact that, okay, we know what they did. We got the evidence. These are my opinions. Now, why would you have holding stations and you got DOT transportation into these districts? They said, well, they just told us where they wanted to go. That's where we were placing them. California, we want to go to Sanctuary City. We want to go to Sanctuary State. I want to vote for Joe Biden. Or I want to vote for Kamala Harris now. You know, on the lives of hundreds of thousands, maybe more American citizens. Okay, did at any time did they ever try to resecure that wide open border? Either the southern border or the northern border during Biden's administration. Remember, Biden appointed Kamala Harris as the border czar, right? You think? How many people out there believe that she did her constitutional duty? By the way, can Biden delegate his main constitutional duties, which includes national security and the safety of every single man, woman, and child in America, whether we're here with a student visa or work visa or whatever visa, or you're here as a U.S. citizen legally? Can the President of the United States delegate that his constitutional duty to ensure against invasion? See, all these people are so-called, they're like lawyers now, right? They're constitutional scholars. They're scholars in constitutional law. Okay, I'm just a humble dumb rube. I never read any books before. I'm bending the truth there. I read the good book. Not only did I read it, I critically learned it. Look, Section 4, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution reads, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the language or the executive against domestic violence. Did the Biden administration uphold their constitutional duties while they had open borders or open society? Did they? Were they cracking down on the drug smuggling back and forth across the border? Were they cracking down against domestic violence on the streets of America? Oh, that was called the summer of love, right? Summer, fall, winter, spring, whatever. Love. They felt that their main constitutional requirement, their main constitutional charter, their main oath. They swore the oath, right? Support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. They intentionally failed, because they were going to take over total control. It was a broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our government and the President of the United States. It's still ongoing. To this day, in my opinion, they're still being paid. These journalists are not journalists. They're employees of the agency that's being paid to read their scripts from the black budget. Cause chaos, right? That's what they said Russia did. They're doing a lot better job at causing chaos in this administration and the former President Trump administration than Russia could ever dream of. So falsely accuse people that are doing the best they can to help American citizens out, restore our country to its former greatness. They're falsely accusing every one of those individuals of something they have done in the past so they can take over the investigations and destroy all the evidence on themselves. Remember, there's 17, I believe, other type of agency affiliated intelligence facility of affiliated with the intelligence community. 18 of them. No, of course, the CIA is the big eye, right? CIA, the big eye, right? Remember, Barack Obama, I believe, authorized all those agencies, whether credible or not, to take part in information sharing, right? I don't have that. I remember it, but I don't remember it that clearly. So somebody could help me out with that. Let me see. The U.S. intelligence. U.S. intelligence agencies. Let's see here. The United States intelligence community is a group of separate U.S. federal government intelligence agencies, subordinate organizations that work to conduct intelligence activities which support the foreign policy and domestic policy and national security interests of the United States. Member organizations of the IC include intelligence agencies, military intelligence, and civilian intelligence, and analysis offices within the federal executive departments. I want to see something specific here. Of course, Tulsi Gabbard's ahead of that now. She's director of national intelligence. The IC is overseen by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, which is headed by the director. Wait a minute. The Office of Director of National Intelligence, which is headed by the Director of National Intelligence, who reports directly to the President of the United States. The IC was established by Executive Order 12333, United States Intelligence Activities, signed on December 4th, 1981 by President Ronald Reagan. What happened in March 30th of 1981? President Reagan was nearly murdered, right? The statutory definition of the IC, including its roster of agencies. Let me see. What in the world? What did I do? What did RH do now? Okay, we're back up. So there's clicked on the wrong thing. The statutory definition of the intelligence community, including its roster of agencies, was codified by the Intelligence Organization Act of 1992, whatever. I won't read all the statutes, whatever. The Washington Post reported in 2010 there were 1,271 government organizations and 1,931 private companies and 10,000 locations in the United States that were working on counterterrorism, homeland security, and intelligence, that the intelligence community as a whole would include 854,000 people holding top secret clearances. Jeez. Man, that's a lot of politicization, politicalization, right? However you say it. A whole lot. I didn't know this. Man, think about the operatives we have working in foreign countries as well. The intelligence community as a whole would include 854,000 people holding top secret clearances, to include DEI hires, right? To include DEI hires. You know, all the crazy stuff they put in these bills to try to support, like Sesame Street and was it TG Storytime? The brown shirts, the trolls. Man, you think they can employ a lot of these people to be trolls, right? To cause chaos in your live streams and all kinds of stuff, right? You know, there's bad apples everywhere. Everywhere you go, I'm not talking about the honest, law-abiding citizens in the three-letter agencies, to include our military, to include U.S. Secret Service, that are out there risking their lives every day to help keep us all safe. We're not talking about those people. But can you imagine how many bad apples you got in the IC community when you have 854,000 people holding top secret clearances? God, no wonder you got like China has a almost an exact replica of our AWACS, airborne warning and control system, right? AWACS, airborne warning and control systems. Is that what it means? AWACS? I think so. Can't remember. But you look at their AWACS and some of their modern technology, it looks identical to our own. How did Russia even get the technology of hypersonic missiles? Did they get that from us? We don't know. There's a lot of collusion in the 12 years under the Biden administrations, right? A lot of collusion going on. Collection of information needed by the President of the National Security Council, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and other executive branch officials for the performance of their duties and responsibilities. I want to see who's on the roster. That's probably classified too. Wait a minute. List of members. Here it goes. Office of Naval Intelligence, Coast Guard Intelligence, Bureau of Intelligence and Research, Central Intelligence Agency, National Air and Space Intelligence Center, National Security Agency, Central Security Service, National Reconnaissance Office, Defense Intelligence Agency, U.S. Army Intelligence, Office of Intelligence and Counterintelligence, Marine Corps Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Enterprise, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, Office of Intelligence and Analysis, Intelligence Branch, Office of National Intelligence, Office of Intelligence and Analysis, National Space Intelligence Center. And these all fall under what? U.S. Space Force, Department of Homeland Security, Drug Enforcement Administration, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Treasury, Department of Defense, U.S. Marine Corps, Department of Energy, U.S. Army, Department of Defense. I said that already. Department of Defense, U.S. Air Force, Independent Agency, that's the CIA, Department of State, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Navy. Wow. Let me see how many was that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Yes, that's the roster. And by the way, you can even see the date of inception, right? God, one of them goes all the way back to 1882. Let's see if that was the oldest one. Okay, one of those couple of these organization goes all the way back to 1800s. One, see, 1882, that's the Office of Naval Intelligence, right? Goes all the way back to 1882. Then you have the U.S. Army Intelligence, That goes all the way back to 1885. Wow. Coast Guard intelligence began in 1915 when it was put together. You see here. Yeah, if you go check this out, this is you can basically research this yourself. It's on the let's see, United States Intelligence Community. That's Wikipedia. Okay, online. All right, man. I tell you what. Can you imagine this? Our founders would be rolling over, are probably rolling over in their graves. I don't like to use that comment, whatever. I shouldn't probably used it, but seeing what these people have gotten away with, you know, how they nearly totally destroyed our country. I really believe we were teeter-tottering back and forth with total destruction. Could you imagine if Kamala won? Could you imagine even if Hillary Clinton won? Man, I can't imagine it. Let's see, go back to YouTube. Testing. Wow, I have to restore all of YouTube. Hopefully YouTube didn't shut down. Still says it's live. Let's see. Apologize for leaving YouTube where I couldn't see the chat and everything. Hopefully everybody's still here that was here from the beginning. But isn't this sickening? Oh, by the way, I want to mention something. I'm going to go back to my source references. Well, all this threats of nuclear holocaust here lately, using nuclear weapons and trying to justify the use. Remember, after they took over, go check out this article called Nukes for NATO. Nukes for NATO, Air and Space Forces magazine. And look what the 44th administration put together for us. Wow, isn't this nice? So, Nukes for NATO, right? Dated July 1st of 2010. Wow, that's before Abramo traveled over to Novo Agariova. He traveled to this was after Novo Agariova, where they put together, in my opinion, the U-1 deal. Okay, so anyways, that's all I have for tonight. If I remember, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the whole press conference, and it's very hard getting through those questions. But these people, they cling to their same old scripts, and they're told just keep on reading the same scripts. It appears nothing has changed. Trying to divide up the Trump administration, Trump's cabinet, pit one against the other, like Gabby against Tulsi Gabbard against President Trump, Marco Rubio against President Trump. These stupid, they think they got these gotcha questions, the smoking gun. They're going to be heroes for the communist, Marxist, socialist party. That's who these people are. Okay. Universal income, all that stuff. That's who they are. Anyway, that's all I have for tonight. I guess it's already 1:00 in the morning, so that's all I have tonight. Apologize for not remember one of those key points I was going to make. It just was like wiped clean with a cloth. Thank God it wasn't taken out with a hammer, but thank God it was just wiped clean with a cloth. You know what I mean? But anyways, with that said, good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream.